Where's my purse? Welcome to the Chaos, lovelies. I hope you have all had a beautiful week. I have currently been attempting to lean into my weird ADHD sleep cycle, which honestly I have tried to fight for most of my life, and it has never been successful. And honestly, I find it kind of beneficial to my creativity if I just kind of go with it and don't get too worried about what I should be doing, Because I'm going to be wide awake during that time anyway, so I might as well use it to work on something, Make it productive. So right now, I'm kind of doing what I guess would be a biphasic sleeping schedule. I do 4 to 5 hours in the mid to late afternoon, and then I do creative work until 3 in the morning, and then sleep from 4 a.m. to 9 or 10 a.m. Which is nice because it also gives me daytime to spend with my family, walk the dog, do housework, errands, all that good stuff. So at the moment, it's working pretty well for me, and it's actually made me able to be more consistent with my work because I have a set-aside scheduled time where I'm not doing anything else. And nobody needs anything from me, and there isn't anything else scheduled because nobody's doing anything at 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's really nice to have just dedicated work time, and it's been really helpful. So I'm trying to just kind of flow with my weird sleep schedule for now and see what happens. I don't know if it's actually possible to go with the flow if you have ADHD. I definitely try, but I haven't really got to explore that idea yet. One thing that I have been exploring recently, and honestly, reading about it has made me feel pretty exposed. Does anybody else have difficulty with friendships? In particular, friendships with women. I have always struggled with friendships. I'm great at starting them, or I used to be great at starting them when I was masking and, just taking on other people's personalities. But it's because of this terrible habit, I could never maintain any of those friendships because I wasn't actually being myself. And you can only pretend to be something that you're not for so long before it crumbles completely. Now, that is definitely more of a complex PTSD-based thing. I swear it would be so much more convenient if the different diagnoses, is that how you say that? If they could just kind of stay in their own lanes, it'd be nice if we could just categorize things by this is definitely complex PTSD, this is definitely ADHD. But it doesn't work that way. So yeah, I've been looking at stuff about ADHD and friendships, and honestly, I felt like I was reading about myself, and I keep finding that more and more. Everything that I read about women with ADHD, it's like reading about my experience, and suddenly just everything makes sense. There's a reason behind the craziness. So I definitely overthink replies, and I usually let too much time pass. And then I never end up actually replying to the person, which isn't great. I also can never keep up if I'm in a group chat because of that same overthinking. And then I end up letting too much time go in that. And I don't know how to jump back in, I tend to space out a lot, and I do live partially in my imagination, which is great creatively. But it does make me kind of forget time. And then I feel like I've been out of the loop for too long. And again, jumping back in socially just seems kind of impossible. Plus, I also just assume that they're glad they don't have to deal with me. That's a fun thing that I've recently learned about called rejection sensitivity. I will cover this in more detail soon, but I think it is also related to complex PTSD. Yeah, who knows? And if I could be completely honest right now, I'm getting kind of tired of thinking about all of it or thinking about healing. I just get tired of all the work, It's a lot and it's draining and it's on top of, everything else that I'm doing, my daily tasks at home, my relationships, my work, it's a lot. And I feel like every summer I kind of start to feel this way. I just want to live my life and stop thinking. But unfortunately, I can't just turn off my brain. Sometimes I wish I could. I don't know. I've never managed to hang on to many friends, and I'm not sure that I could ever change that because I guess I just have to be realistic about who I am. And that is a really hard part about all of this, is having to take a really just long, hard look, a realistic look at who I am and how I act. And also what I know that I will and will not be able to or willing to change. And it's kind of wild. It's kind of a trip. Anyway, while I have been spacing out and creating stories and forgetting about real friends and life, I have come up with a bunch of ideas for stories or books. Too many ideas, honestly. So usually when this happens, I cut it down to a few projects, and then only a handful of those actually ever make it into like a full draft. But I am also a creative hoarder. Every idea that I have come up with and written down in any amount, and some of these files just have like a sentence, but anything, they get saved on my Google Drive. I actually recently just had to pay for more space. But I don't delete anything. The idea is that I would go back to previous projects and turn them into something else or continue them eventually. But until recently, I hadn't really done that. Then not too long ago, I was just kind of looking through things for fun, and I found a couple stories that I ended up reworking, and they became part of my newest collection of short stories, which you can find on Amazon. It's called 3:33 a.m. So it finally paid off to hold on to all of these ideas. And that means that I don't have to beat myself up or stress about the fact that I save all of these random ideas, because you never know which one is going to just flip that switch, And sometimes it takes forever. One of those stories I have had just kind of sitting around for years. And then I finally went back to it, reworked it, and I love it. I will say that at least there is Google Drive, because I have just boxes of old writing journals from the before times. And my house is not big enough for all of my ADHD creativity, for real. So recently I saw a funny post about people with ADHD screenshotting yet another thing that they will never look at again. And I felt very seen. That is how I was kind of feeling about my creative files until recently, just like collecting them and they would never be looked at again. And I also totally screenshot things all the time. And I almost never go back through them or look at anything ever again. Occasionally I'll go back to find like a tarot spread or something or a certain quote. I have this motivational app on my phone that displays different uplifting and motivating quotes throughout the day. And sometimes I'll screenshot one of those if it resonates, My plan with those was to go back at some point and write them down in a notebook. So I had this like notebook of just like positive things. And I did this once, and I got through maybe a quarter of the ones that I had screenshotted. Maybe a quarter. And then I have taken so many more since then. I feel like once I actually started writing them down, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then I started taking even more pictures. Yeah, my phone is full of them. It's an absurd habit. It's a really absurd habit. Oh, sometimes I get mired down in the difficulty and the less ideal aspects of having ADHD. But more and more, I'm trying to focus on the positives. I am who I am, and some things can't be changed. But at least I know what that thing is now. And I've realized lately that accepting that I have it is the beginning of healing some of my old trauma. I have never been able to figure out who I am. I was always just a mirror, showing other people what I thought they wanted to see. And now that I have let that go. I am embarrassingly clueless about who I am and what I truly enjoy. There's good and bad in that. I can be certain that I have this one piece of the puzzle, and that is a start. It's not everything, but it is a foundational thing, and that seems like a really good place to begin. There's no more denying it, and I don't know. There's strength in there somewhere. I'll find it. Oh, well, lovelies, the chaos continues. I hope you find moments during this week to pause and breathe, take a few moments of peace, and just let go for a minute. And accept where you are right at that moment. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I hope you find your purse.
A Frap Media production.